Boise State has a chance to get back to the top of the Mountain West, and after a 7-5 season, that's exactly what would help fans kind of forget about last year. It was a disappointing year for the Broncos, but they have the talent to bounce back. They have the talent to be one of the best teams in the Mountain West, to win a Mountain West championship again, and remind everybody who's been running this conference for the most part over the last decade. And we look at the 10 guys that are returning here that are going to have the biggest impact. You're looking at a lot of good talent, a lot of exciting players that are experienced and also can be that leadership that Boise State needs to turn things back around, to get back to the top, and get back to what we all expect Boise State football to be. Safety JL Skinner is a do-it-all safety, a do-it-all defender for this defense. He's very fun to watch. You want to have him line up and stop the run. You can do that with him. You can have him drop back and be the deep safety as well. He does a little bit of everything, and he's comfortable doing everything. I think that's something that you don't see a ton. And, you look at what like Kyle Hamilton did for Notre Dame. Now, I'm not comparing Kyle Hamilton and JL Skinner. I'm just saying you look at the skill set that they can bring, and that gives you versatility, that gives you scheme flexibility, to be able to do a little bit different things that maybe you can't with a normal safety. 92 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 3 passes defended, 2 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries. Like I said, he does it all. He's fun to watch, and the confidence that he plays with is something that's going to be infectious around the defense, especially when they lose a couple guys in both the secondary and the front 7. That kind of play is going to help that group and really elevate them to a new level. And another leader that's coming back and on the opposite side of the ball is Hank Bockmeier. Hank Bockmeier, to me, is the toughest quarterback in college football. You look at some of the hits that he's taken in his career, and he's going to need an ice bath for the rest of his life. He's so poised, though. It doesn't really affect him when he is getting hit or if he has guys barreling down on him, or if he's got pressure coming up the middle, coming right for him, and his ability to stay calm, get the ball out, and make, honestly, really incredible throws is something that we don't really talk about a ton, especially after last year. I think that with Boise State taking a little bit of a step back, Bockmeier kind of flew under the radar. The new up-tempo system is something I think benefits him a little bit more. He threw for over 3,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, just 8 interceptions. I think now he has a full year of experience running that offense, and 2022 is going to be a good year for him. Protecting Bockmeier is going to be John Arjuku. The left tackle was an all Mountain West selection. And the offensive line, while it has a ton of talent, needs to take a step forward. I think that's the biggest thing for this offense. If the offensive line can step up and be a little bit better, this offense reaches new heights. And like both sides of the offense and the defense, they have the talent to be really good. It just comes down to consistency and being able, like I said, to take a step forward and develop a little bit more. Battling with Arjuku is going to be 2 guys that we're talking about here. First is Scott Matlock, who probably won't battle specifically with Arjuku, but up the middle, he'll make the offensive line, the interior offensive line, a little bit better. A year in which he produced 8.5 tackles for loss and 7 sacks. That's impressive for a guy up the middle. You don't see a ton of defensive tackles with that kind of production, and that's something that really doesn't get discussed much, is how talented defensive tackles can be, because a lot of times they don't have the stats. And even though like this stat line isn't anything like elite by any means from a purely productive or a statistical standpoint, it's pretty impressive for a guy who's playing up the middle. George Helani is kind of like Hank Bockmeier. He has to stay healthy to have an impact. When he is on the field, just like when Hank Bockmeier is on the field, Boise State looks like a different team. When they both leave the field, or if one of them leaves the field, that aspect of the game kind of takes a step back. George Helani is an extremely tough running back. Maybe not durable, but he is tough to take down, has some good quickness, and is not afraid of contact. He works well in the trenches, finding extra running room. And, 569 yards last year with his limited time, 4.8 yards per carry. Like I said, if he stays healthy, he can be 1,000-yard back. It just comes down to his durability. With Khalil Shakir gone, the passing game needs to find a new go-to weapon. You lose a guy who knew how to get open. He knew all the intricacies of route running and how to get open, how to make guys look ridiculous, and now he's gone. So Stephan Cobbs has kind of a big role to fill, big shoes to fill, if you will. Even though he had 421 yards, 12.4 yards per catch, 5 touchdowns, he has to be more explosive this year, or somebody does. But it feels like Stephan Cobbs is a good option, a good candidate to fill those shoes. And it's going to be fun to see what he can do in a bigger role and what Boise State asked him to do in 2022. Tight end figures to be another bigger role in the Boise State offense this year, especially with Shakir gone. New weapons need to emerge, like I said, and that means guys like Riley Smith get a chance to show what they can do as pass catchers. Now, Riley Smith is a guy who can block really well and be an impact player in the running game. But what does it mean for him in the passing game? Can he be more than an 8-catch guy? Now, he averaged 10.8 yards per catch, and while that's okay, it's a limited sample size. So we're not really sure what are we getting from him in terms of a pass catcher. What are we getting from him as an explosive weapon? Can he be a reliable pass catcher? Maybe not be that take the top off the defense kind of guy, but the guy you're looking for in short yardage situations, passing situations where you need to pick up a first down at a clutch moment. And if Riley Smith can do that, this offense is going to be really fun to watch. With Shane Irwin announcing his retirement from football, Dmitry Washington takes on a bigger role for Boise State. The linebacker who's going to play more of that edge type player for Boise State's defense, who had 41 tackles last year, is going to play a bigger role, like I said, and they're going to need him to step up in a big way. Losing Shane Irwin is not going to be easy, and it's going to make life a little bit more challenging for the guys around him, but he is a guy who's ready to take that step. He's a player who can be big for Boise State, and even though Shane Irwin leads a big hole, Dmitry Washington is a talented player that can take over. Another lineman, Ben Dooley, an All-Mountain West selection. Again, this is a group that's going to be really fun and really talented. It just comes down to consistency because you have two guys that we mentioned now who are all conference type talent. Now, Dooley's also a guy who can play guard and tackle, and it just comes down to what the other guys around him will do. There is the talent there, like I said. It just comes down to, can they play at a high level for enough time for Boise State to get back to where they are? Because if you're not going to be able to have a good offensive line, running the ball and throwing the ball are going to be much more difficult. Moving the ball down the field is going to be harder if your offensive line can't do what you need them to do. Tyreek LaBeouf kind of started his year at the top and then really dropped off. It kind of cooled off. He really cooled off quick. And if he can play with what he showed in the UCF game at the beginning of the year, he's going to be really fun to watch. He's going to be someone that can step up and help J.L. Skinner in the secondary. It just comes down to, again, consistency. That seems to be a theme. This is a Boise State team that I think can be a lot better. Competing for a Mountain West championship should be the expectation. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that in terms of winning the whole thing, but they have the talent to do it. They have the talent to be up there and compete with the rest of the teams in the Mountain West. And it just, like I said, comes down to consistency.